Welcome back to the Coach Business School podcast. My name is Andy Ramage. I'll be your coach, your trainer, and your guide for this little exploration of all things coaching. And today we're going to talk about why the future of coaching is so bright. It's the most exciting time to be a coach ever since the coaching profession was invented. And that's what we're going to deep dive into today. And don't forget, if you enjoy these podcasts, please visit our coachbusiness.school. This is my website where you'll see all the details about the courses that we run. For example, if you're new to coaching, we have this incredible foundation certificate in coaching where you'll get to train with me. You'll get a one-to-one coaching session, so you'll feel what it's like to be coached, train as a coach, and whilst you're training with me, do some coaching. This is like the ultimate foundation course to give you all the information you need to make a great decision if you want to be a coach or not. And if you're already a qualified coach, don't forget you can check out our Coach MBA, our marketing and business course with myself that will take your coaching business to the next level. Whether you're just starting out or you've already got a successful practice, it's about building that coaching business of your dreams. Go to coachbusiness.school. All right. So why is the future of coaching so bright? Here's my take on it. The world is going through a monumental shift, or about to, especially with the net result of AI. And I've seen some of this a little bit before in a slightly different way in my life. One of my previous careers was that of a broker, a commodities broker, and we were OTC, so over-the-counter brokers. That meant we did all of our work either in the trading pits, the guys in the bright jackets screaming and shouting at one another, or then when we got slightly more refined, we went into offices and we did all this work on phones. So talking to our clients, that human connection. We didn't use a screen of any sort to put our numbers on, so there was no online exchange essentially. And then the world changed. Of course, as progress happens, we moved a lot of that business to an online screen exchange where people could go directly to that screen and trade without having to come to a broker, essentially. Now, at that point, and this is winding back the clock some 20 odd years ago, there were people leaving that industry because they said, it's over, it's finished, what's the point? This is all going to end up on a screen. There's going to be no need for voice broking, the human element to what we do. Now, what has actually happened? Here we are some 20 years later, and I'm still involved in the industry because I actually now coach a lot of traders and brokers. It is flourishing and thriving in a way that it's never, ever done before. Because what actually happened, people that couldn't really access those markets before because they would have had to go through a voice broker essentially, could now go directly to those exchanges. So it lowered the barrier to entry. So more people got familiar with trading on those exchanges. What that brought was more liquidity to the whole market, which meant actually then the guys and girls on the phones got busier and busier and found more and more new clients because it drew a whole new world of people in to that type of trading. And ever since it's blossomed, it's busier than it's ever been for both the voice brokers and the exchanges. Now, whilst that's quite different, I think there's a lot of parallels to that and the world of coaching and AI, for example. So here's what I believe. I believe that AI, which is there already, will mimic coaching, therapy, counseling in all these different guises. So all of a sudden, the barrier to entry will be completely removed for most people. So for most of the world have got no real concept of what coaching actually does, is the truth of it. They've got no real concept of the power of coaching, which is such an incredible, important skill that those coaches have to help people achieve things they would never achieve on their own. And anyone that's ever trained with me will know my objective is, can we get someone in a room, if we're talking about traditional one-to-one coaching, and give them really a transformative learning experience that they never would have got to on their own through a conversation with a friend or a loved one, or even trying to figure it out on their own. A transformative learning experience by challenging those limiting thinking inside their brain, helping them explore their own minds to create novel ways forward, to gain insights they never would have got to without the help of a coach. plus the energy of that human connection is so incredibly powerful. Most people on this planet right now have no concept of the power of those coaching conversations. None at all. Even as coaches, we like to think everyone knows about it, but they don't really. They might sort of think they sort of know about it enough to trial it and try it with you, for example, or bring you into their organization. But by and large, you're talking this tiny percentage of people that really know its power. Therefore, let's just say AI, which it will do, becomes much more prevalent, and they mimic coaching through people that look like coaches and, have downloaded a lot of the insights and knowledge that you need for coaches. And of course, they can mine the whole of the internet, right? So there's that AI, incredible power of that AI mind. What will happen is that barrier to entry will be removed. So instead of someone coming along and to invest in my coaching, right? My coaching starts out at £6,000 plus, right? So I know the vast majority of people are out of that game, right? That's just not going to work for them, right? And it might be similar for coaches at all different levels, right? There's a decent commitment to begin that relationship and to really understand the power of coaching. So we're still dealing with a tiny fractional percentile of the planet. All of a sudden, a bit like when people could trade on the exchanges without going through a broker, the barrier to entry was completely lowered. So now, for example, it might be possible for people to access coaching on a massive scale via AI, essentially for free or for very little investment. So that barrier to entry is completely removed. Now, what might happen, and this is my thinking and theory, is that all of a sudden people start to understand, there's real power in this. There's real power in having my thinking challenged. There's real power in reflecting upon what I need to do to achieve my goals instead of being told what I should do to achieve my goals. So if these AI coaches are set up in the right way, professionally and ethically, it will give people a glimpse of the real power of coaching. Now, you might think, well, that's great, Andy, but then what's the point in having real human coaches? Everyone would just have an AI coach. But I think we have to back the human spirit, don't we? Or we might as well give up on everything, right? If we genuinely think we can replace real human-to-human connection with an AI, I don't think that's the case at all. And there might be a knee-jerk reaction to it, and people go, this is amazing, I can just get an AI coach. Why do I need a normal coach? But something's missing, right? Because the vital element that's missing is that there's an energy between two humans. It's just a fact, right? We can't escape that in a way that there's a connection that goes far deeper than a screen, for example, with an AI on the other side of it. Yes, they technically might be able to, do some of the work of coaching, but that's not just coaching, right? Coaching is just not the words that are exchanged between the coach and the client. There's an energy, there's a bond between the two that creates momentum, that creates accountability, that creates insight, and the beautiful human brain of ours gets to really feel that empathy and understanding of another human to ask that question that maybe an AI couldn't. And when you wrap around that real energy of connection, people will always get better results working with a real human coach. Now, back to the point. If the barrier's been lowered to such a point that it's easy for people to start understanding and feeling the power of coaching, and now what you've got to think, right, it's a numbers game, and it was the same on the old exchanges. Because the numbers were stifled, because everyone had to use a voice broker, as soon as they could use a screen, the numbers exploded, which brought loads more people into the space that understood that this is a great place to do some business. It's the same with the AIs, right? At the moment, the truth is, the limitation of coaching has been the limitation of coaches in the world. And then some of the pricing points of those coaches, which for a lot of people means that they're just not being able to experience the real power of coach and the physical number of coaches. Therefore, you might argue that the human element has stunted the growth of coaching, because just by the nature of there's not enough coaches or really well trained coaches. I would argue between all the coaches trained, there's only a fractional group that are really well trained, especially those at the Coach Business School, but it's true. So we've actually stunted the ability for people to embrace the power of coaching. Now, a bit like the exchange, all of a sudden AI comes along, right? And it's able to replicate and duplicate that in such a way and make it economical so that pretty much everyone on the planet, in truth, like everyone on the planet. So we go from this tiny, like you've got to think about the minuscule numbers involved in this of people that have actually been coached and felt the power of coaching, to potentially everyone on the planet with a phone. And arguably most people on this planet do have a phone of some sort. That is an absolutely monumental shift in people's ability to understand the power of coaching. That's not just a small percentage gain. That is an absolutely mind-boggling number of people that potentially, with a phone, could experience some form of coaching. So we go from barely anyone on the planet really understanding what coaching is to potentially everyone on the planet understanding what coaching is. Now, if you run the numbers of that, of course, some of those people will never be in position to follow through on coaching with a human, for example. But when you've got that monumental group of people now feeling the power of coaching, going, this is excellent, even if a tiny percentage of that monumental group actually want to work with a real human coach because they realize they'll get better results with a real human coach, that will be the most dramatic change in coaching ever. There will be so many people coming to coaching because so many more people are aware of coaching. So even if a small percentage of them actually want to follow through into real human coaching because they know that's where the true value is, we will see more clients than you could ever imagine. That is why now is the greatest time to be a coach. And I go a step further. If you listen to some of the real AI experts, and I have, one of the professions that they continually talk about, actually, one being linked to AI, but also as a human, is therapy, counseling, coaching. Because also what we have to realize is that we're going through a monumental shift and change, right? And what happens? Most people's brains are untrained. So if you don't train your mind, you're going to get left behind. So I think it's going to create this huge wave of people that are struggling in some shape or form, that need to update their brains to prepare themselves for this shakedown of life that's going to happen on the back of AI. And where are they going to turn to? The therapists, the counselors, and the coaches. And we'll be there, training our own brains. I'll go a step further again. What do we need in a changing landscape? We need the ability to train our minds, or we're going to get left behind. And what does coaching do for us? It helps us train our minds so we can stay one step ahead of the change, to thrive through uncertainty, to smile as things get challenging. And one of the great professions that you can continue to work upon to the end of your days is coaching. Distilling human wisdom to other human beings will be so powerful. And here's another thought for us, and where I'm going with a lot of my coaching. In-person coaching, that is something that AI cannot do, can it? AI can't take you out for a coffee, which is where I do most of my one-to-one coaching, and coach you. Yes, it might be able to do it through a screen on your phone, but it won't be able to take you out to coffee. It won't be able to walk around the office, as I do, and I'm doing that later today, and then take little meeting rooms with many of their top performers and coach them in person in the office and be seen in the office. AI can't do that, can it? AI can't take you for a walk and talk, a hike. It can't run retreats. Like all of these wonderful things that we can bring to coaching, the human element of coaching, the human element of connection. And just this Friday, I'll be with a group of our coaches, 50 of them, literally flying from all over the world, coming together in London. This is going to be our first ever Coach Business School Coaching Collective, as I'm now calling it, which is our community effectively. And I will be announcing this when we all meet, but really this is to reframe our coaching community to a collective, a coaching collective of coaches coming together to do good in the world. And what I realized is from our recent Ibiza retreat, we've got another one of those in May, don't miss out on it because it will fill up fast and soon, when you get a group of human beings together in person, in the room, magic things happen in a way that they don't happen online. Even though we run all of our training online, because of that IB3 experience, my business outlook, my life outlook has been transformed. I will do more and more coaching in person and more events in person, because there's a different energy to it, and we can never let that go. We can never make the assumption that AI can replace that. It cannot ever replace that human connection. Therefore, I think as coaches, it gets even more exciting again, because not only is there going to be this new wave of people coming to coaching, we can pull the master skill and actually design coaching in person, whether that's connecting in small groups, one-to-ones, coffees, in offices, in businesses, retreats, hikes and talks, bikes and hawks, dance and talks, whatever it is you want to do, and bring your beautiful skill of creativity to coaching. Like, how exciting is that? And back to the coaching collective that I will be meeting with on Friday, 50 of our coaches, and we had to limit it to that because we'd run out of space, and that was sold out. And we didn't even go to the whole coaching community for that. This is just a trial run to see would people be interested in coming together in person in London. And the fact that it's sold out, and we could have probably sold it out double over and we didn't go to half the community, speaks volumes to that, because we're humans. And humans love to connect because there's a different energy. It's vital to our survival, our survival. That's not even a word, but you get what I mean. To come together. Yes, this technology we have now that connects us from all over the globe is wonderful, right? It gives us an opportunity to do things we never normally would do. Most of my coaching diplomas, when I get on those calls, we have people from all over the globe on those calls. That would probably not be possible in terms of that level of training if we had to do it in person. However, there is a completely different energy, vibe, connection when you get together in person. And I want to spend more and more of my life with incredible humans in the real world. Hence why we're having this event in London. And that collective will get together at least once a quarter, and that will grow and grow and grow. I know it will. A group of humans, coaches, coming together essentially to do good in the world. And that can take form in any shape you can imagine. And that could be traditional one-to-one coaching, to running an app, to creating a podcast, to just being more radiant, using all the self-development skills you've learned from coaching to be a better person, or as good a person as you can be in your family network, in your career. What a gift to the world that would be. Equally, it could take a different form. It could end up in the form of a drink. Mike Moody, who created Authentic Brew, of which I'm part of, a functional energy health drink, which is amazing, by the way. That was born out of the coach training. And 25% of all profits, no one does that in the drinks industry, 25% of all net profit will go to environmental, ecological causes. How cool is that? Changing the world, real humans in the real world. So now we find ourselves in this incredible position, I think, as coaches, where we can leverage this amazing technology. AI is going to make coaching available to the world. So we've gone from this tiny fraction of people that understand what coaching is to potentially every person on the planet. The percentage of footfall then who will want real world coaches will dwarf anything we've ever seen before. So for skilled coaches, I think there's going to be more opportunity than ever. And then we can pull the trump card, which is make our coaching more in person than online. Humans want to connect with real humans. You get better results that way. What an absolute gift. That is why now for me is the most exciting time ever to be a coach. And I look forward to our future of just showing up and shining our coaching message, and also training our mind so we don't get left behind as the world starts to shapeshift and change. Hopefully you're as excited as me about this adventure. If you are, do go to thecoachbusiness.school. If you want to come and join our coaching collective, the only way into the coaching collective is to have trained with myself at the Coach Business School, either via our diploma courses or our MBA currently, or our retreat. If you've been on our retreat, you'll also be part of that collective. Please go to coachbusiness.school to find out more. Keep coaching. Your coach, Andy. Let's do this.